Okay, hello. Today, I would like to explain about um, topic assessing speaking. Before I start the speech or the explanation, I would like to tell you about myself. My name is Iqbal Ardiansyah with student number A1B224032, and my point is about key challenges in assessing speaking. Before I talk about this, you should know about the assessing key challenges in assessing speaking. What does that mean? Assessing speaking is more complex than assessing other language skills because speaking naturally involves interaction and spontaneous production. There are three major that I can show you. The first one is interaction effect. Speaking always involves listening, right? And when someone speaks, they usually respond to another speaker. Therefore, it is difficult to measure speaking ability without also involving listening comprehension. The second is elicita- elicitation technique quiz. Teachers must carefully design tasks that encourage students to produce specific grammatical forms or discourse features. Like example, if the goal is the test past tense, the task must require students to use past tense naturally. And the last one is a scoring producer. Speaking tasks often produce open-ended responses. A meaning answer can vary, and I mean like the meaning answer can vary. Because of this, scoring cannot rely on only on criterion, and then the teachers usually assess multiple aspects such as pronunciation, fluency, grammar, vocabulary, and comprehension. And the second point is about the five basic types of speaking. Um, Maybe I would like to explain what is the five basic types of speaking meanings. There are five fundamental types of speaking performance. These types move from simple to complex, and the point is I have some point for this topic. The first is imitative. Students repeat word, process, or sentence. Focus on pronunciation. No need to understand the meaning deeply. Like example, repeating the words that teacher speak. Like she sells hers. Like she sells hers. Gitu. I'm sorry, like that. And the second is intensive. Students produce short stretches of language focusing on specific grammar or phonological features. Example reading aloud, direct responses, dialogue complicated, completion, and this focus on accuracy rather than interaction. The second is responsive. Students give short replies in simple interaction. Example like greetings, simple question and answer, short comments. This is involves basic communication but still limited in length, and that's why it's called like that. And then is interactive. Students participate in longer conversation involving multiple exchanges. Example like someone interview, role plays, and then discussion. And this type require more complex language and social interaction skill. And the last one is about extensive or monologue. And students produce long stretches of speech with little or no interruption, like oral, presentation, speeches, and storytelling. This is the most complex type because it requires organization, fluency, and content development. And I think that's all from me. What I can explain about this topic today, and I'm sorry if I not really deep for explanation. Thank you.
Let's move to the next slide. It is micro and macro skills of speaking. They are 16 specific objectives for assessing oral production. They are divided into two parts, micro skills and macro skills. For the first one is micro skills. Micro skills focus on small unit of language. This includes producing correct sound, using stress and intonation properly, using enough vocabulary, speaking fluently, using grammar correctly, and forming natural sentences. So here, the focus is accuracy and fluency at the technical level. And the second one is macro skills. Macro skills focus on larger elements, so students must use communicative function appropriately, so they must choose the right style and register. They should connect main ideas and supporting ideas. And then they also use nonverbal cues like facial expression and body language. In short, micro skills are about how to say it correctly, and macro skills are about how to communicative meaning effectively. For example, in one class, a teacher can ask students to practice pronunciation for micro skills. For micro skills, students can do a role play like customer and cashier to show real communication. Imitative speaking. Imitative speaking means phonological imitation, so students repeat words, phrases, or sentences. The focus is pronunciation accuracy, not meaning and not interaction. And the objective is to make learners more comprehensible. And the techniques include word or sentence repetition, read aloud text and tests like fun pass. For example, the teacher says, "I booked a boat yesterday," and students repeat, and then the teacher takes pronunciation and intonation. Let's jump into the next slide. The next slide is intensive speaking. Intensive speaking is short discourse that shows specific linguistic features. Students start producing language, not just repeating. It means like the text include directed response, reading aloud longer text, sentence or dialogue completion, and oral questionnaires. For example, the teacher shows two cars, and then students say the red car is bigger than the blue car. Here, the teacher checks grammar accuracy. So, imitative speaking trains pronunciation, intensive speaking trains structure and short production. And about micro and macro skills help us assess speaking from small details to overall communication.
Hello everyone, I'm Ratu Amelia with student number A1B224103. So in this slide, I will explain responsive speaking. Responsive speaking refers to brief interactions such as short conversation, simple requests, and basic comments. This type of speaking usually involves quick responses rather than long, extended speech. Okay, the first type is question and answers. In this activity, students respond to genuine referential, not just display questions. They may give open and ended response such as explaining options or ideas. Sometimes students can also ask questions back to the tester. And then the second type is giving instruction or direction. Here, students produce slightly longer responses that require clarity. For example, they may explain how to make a dish or how to get a certain place. It is this important that the response is spontaneous and not memorized. And then the third type is paraphrasing. In this task, students listen to sentence or short stories and then restate the message in their own words. This activity focus on conveying meaning rather than repeat exact word, and it also tests consciousness and listening integration. One popular example of responsive speaking assessment is the test of spoken English, or TSE, which is a 20 minutes audio tape test. Okay, for the next slide, I'm gonna talk about interactive speaking. Interactive speaking refers to longer and more complex communication that involves two or more participants. One common way to assess this skill is through an oral interview, which usually consists of 4 mandatory stages. The first stage is the warm-up. At this stage, the interviewer tries to build rapport and reduce the student anxiety. It usually includes small talk or simple introduction, and this part is not scored. The second stage is the level check. Here, the interviewer confirms the student's proficiency level by eliciting expected language form and function. This stage is scored. And then the third stage is the probe. The goal of this stage is to find the upper limit of the student's ability by asking increasingly challenging questions. If the student performs well, this part is also scored. The final stage is the window. This stage aims to end the interview comfortably. The interviewer usually asks easy questions and may give general information about the result. This stage is not scored. And then the next slide is interactive speaking part 2. In this slide, I will explain several types of interactive speaking tasks. The first is role play. Role play uses simulated situations to encourage students to produce language creatively. For example, students may pretend to be tourists asking for direction. This activity can help lower anxiety and encourage the use of pragmatic language. And then the second is discussion and conversation. This type involves informal assessment through the natural interaction. Students communicate through activities such as topic nomination, turn taking, clarify, and paraphrasing. Because it reflects real communication, it is considered highly authentic and useful for testing sociolinguistic competence. Okay, and then the third is games. Games encourage language production through structure, but enjoyable activities such as interviews, like crossword puzzle, information gap tasks, and map direction. They are fun and especially useful for formative assessment because they can create positive feedback. One well-known example of interactive speaking assessment is the active oral proficiency interview, which typically lasts about 13 to 14 30 to 40 minutes and includes then proficiency levels. Okay, I think that's all from my part. Thank you.
Okay, so now I will explain about ACTFL Oral Proficiency Interview or OPI. So ACTFL OPI is a standardized oral test designed to measure a speaker's functional language ability. The interview usually lasts around 30 to 40 minutes and is conducted by the certificate examiners. So ASTFL divides proficiency into 10 levels, grouped into 4 main categories. The first one is novice, low, mid, and high. At this level, learners can produce isolated words, use memorized phrases, and handle very limited everyday needs. And also, the second one is intermediate, low, mid, high. And learners can participate in simple conversations, create sentences, not just memorize phrases, and talk about familiar and predictable topics. And the third one is advanced. Learners can narrate in past, present, and future, and speak in connected paragraph, and handle complications in conversations. So the fourth one is superior. At this highest level, speakers can discuss abstract topics, express opinions clearly, and participate effectively in formal and informal discussions. ASTFL uses holistic scoring, meaning the examiner gives one overall proficiency level. Although ACTFL is widely respected and systematic, it has been criticized for sometimes lacking authenticity because it is still an interview format. And now, next I will explain about the extensive speaking. So, extensive speaking refers to longer monologues with minimal interaction from listeners, which means this type requires higher level language ability. And these are 4 main types. The first one is oral presentations. Students give presentations in academic or professional contexts. So, assessment focuses on 2 aspects. The first one is content. Which it needs to be clear purpose, organized introduction, main ideas and supporting details, and the last one is conclusion. And the next is delivery, which it needs eye contact, gestures, fluency, pronunciation, and speaking rate. And then the second one is picture cue storytelling. Students look at a series of pictures and create a story. This task measures vocabulary, use of connectors, verb tenses, and fluency, and also the last one, narrative ability. And the third one is retelling a story or news event. Students listen to or read a story and then retell it in their own words. What does it mean? So this test includes listening comprehensions, organization of ideas, fluency, pronunciation, and expressive ability. And the fourth one is translation or extended prose. Students translate longer texts from their first language into English orally. This allows teachers to control grammar and vocabulary. However, translation is specialized skill and may not fully reflect spontaneous speaking ability. So, in summary, extensive speaking tasks measure high-level communication skills and real-world performance.
Okay, so now finally I will explain about scoring oral production, which there are two main approaches. So the first one is holistic scoring. What is holistic scoring? So holistic scoring gives one overall score, which has the advantages is fast, practical, and useful for placement. However, it does not provide detailed feedback. And the second one is analytic scoring. Analytic scoring gives multiple separate scores, and it usually includes 6 categories, which which are the grammar, vocabulary, comprehension, fluency, and pronunciations. And this test accomplished each category is often scored on a scale 1 to 5. And the advantages are more detailed, diagnostic, better feedback for improvement, and then for open-ended speaking tasks, analytic scoring is often more appropriate because speaking performance is complex and multidimensional. I think that's all what I can explain. Thank you so much.